Hello and welcome to another Surrey Library's Christmas craft video. Today we're going to be crocheting a Christmas pudding bauble. So what you will be needing is an 8cm polystyrene ball, double knit yarn in white, brown, red and green, crochet hook. I've got a 3.5mm crochet hook here, some scissors, a needle for sewing everything together, and then this is optional, but you can also use some pins to help you keep everything in place when you're sewing. Okay, so in this pattern we're going to be using US terminology, so the stitches that you need to know are single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet and a slip stitch. Now if you haven't done any of these before, I will be showing you how to do them as we go along, so you may just be able to follow along with what I'm doing. So the first part of this pattern is to make the first half of the sphere that's going to go around this polystyrene ball. So we're going to grab our brown yarn and we're going to make a magic ring. So if you just watch what I'm doing here, this is how we make our magic ring. And then we put our crochet hook through and take the back loop and pull up a loop like this. And then we need to chain 3. So we need to go 1, 2, 3. And now at the start of every round, this free chain is going to count as a double crochet. So now we're going to do an actual double crochet. So we yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, yarn through the first 2, and then yarn through the remaining 2 on your hook, and then you've got your double crochet there. So we're going to do 10 more of those double crochets. That will get us to a 12 double crochet round, and I'll meet you at the end of this round. Okay, so now we've come to the end of our first round, and you can see that we need to close up this hole here. So if you just literally pull on this bit of yarn here, pull as tight as you can, and you'll find that the circle closes up like that. Then what we need to do is we need to simply slip stitch into the top of the free chain that we did at the beginning. So that will be this stitch here. So if we just go inside this stitch, it may be a little tight, but you should be able to get in there, and then just pull your yarn through and then pull it through this stitch as well. And now we've got 12 double crochets all around. So what we need to do next is we need to do 2 double crochets into each stitch around. So we start off with our usual chain 3, so 1, 2, 3, and then we do a double crochet into the same stitch that we slip stitched in to start with. Again, this may be a little tight to get into, but you should be able to pull your yarn through and do your double crochet as usual, and then I'll just show you the next stitch. So yarn over, pull through, first 2 loops, remaining 2 loops, and then another one into the same stitch. So first 2, second 2. So now we've got 4 double crochets here, so we just need to keep doing the same thing around until we've got 24, and I'll meet you at the end. Right, so now we've reached the end of round 2 and we've got our 24 double crochets all the way around. Just to point out, there's obviously this little tail at the back here. Now you can just snip that if you want, or you can just leave it because that will be hidden when we sew our 2 halves of the sphere together at the end. So what we need to do now is we need to slip stitch into the top of this chain 3 as we did last time. So just do a slip stitch here. Ooh, lost a bit. There we go. So now we've done that, we've closed up the round, and now we just need to do a round with 36 double crochets all the way around. And how we do that is we do 1 double crochet in the first stitch, so in the first stitch of the round, that's our chain 3, and then we do 2 double crochets into the next stitch, as so. And then we do 1 double crochet, then 2 double crochets, So if we go around like that, doing 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochets into 1 stitch, then we should end up with 36 double crochets all the way around. So I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so now we've reached the end of our 3rd round and we've got 36 double crochets all the way around. Now what we're going to be doing for the next round, so rounds 4 and 5, is we're going to be simply doing 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So I'll just show you the first few. So as usual, we do our chain free for the first one, that counts as our first double crochet, and then we do another double crochet into the next stitch. And then we'll do the same all the way around. We'll come to the end, we'll slip stitch into this chain free as we always do another chain free, crochet, double crochet all the way around, and then slip stitch into the top of that chain free again, and then we'll end up with our 5th round complete, and that will be the end of our first half of the sphere. So I'll meet you when you finish round 5. Okay, so now we've reached the end of our 5th and final round for this first half, and we've got our little half here, so you can see that this is going to go around the polystyrene ball. Now at this stage it looks like it's not going to quite fit, but trust me, it will when we get round to sewing the 2 halves together, so don't worry about that. So now all we need to do is we need to cut our yarn. Now for the first half, what I'm going to do is cut it quite close, not leave a very long tail, and I'm just going to pull it through like this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hook, pull this tail through here, and then I'm just going to weave it for a few stitches here just to make sure that it remains in place and it's nice and secure. Then I'm just going to cut it once again, and this will remain inside, so you won't see this when you sew the 2 halves together. So on the second half, what you should do is you should cut a longer tail, so you should leave maybe this sort of length of yarn, just enough that you can sew it all of the way around. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use that half to sew together to this half. So if you just follow all the same steps that I've just done for this half here, we'll end up with another exactly like this, and then we can sew the 2 together, and then we can get working on the icing. Right, so now we've got the 2 halves of our sphere, so what we're going to do is we're going to place our polystyrene ball inside one of the halves, and then we're going to place the other half on top like this, and then what we're going to do is we're going to sew all the way around. So if I just get my needle and I thread it through here, so this is the easiest way to do it, by the way, folding it like this and then pushing it through and then taking the other side like this. That was a bit messy, but you get the idea. And then what we need to do is we just need to line up the double crochets on either side and thread through each one. So if we do this one to start with, I usually just do the front loops because I think that looks nicer. So we can do that and then back up through the next one. Now it looks like this is really stretching it, but when you go all the way around you'll see that actually this ends up looking quite neat. So don't worry about the gap that's appearing at the moment, it will close up as you sew through. So I'll just do one more, just like that, and then I'll meet you when you've finished all the way around. Okay, so now we've sewn all the way around and you can see that actually those 2 halves did come together quite nicely, and you can't see the white too badly through that, so that's nice. So now what we need to do is we need to just simply put the needle back into our work and put it through any stitch, so this one for example, any stitch really, and then all you just need to do is simply cut that very close to the surface. So if I just take my scissors and I snip this here, then that's hidden and then you won't see that part. So that's that for the brown part of the pudding. Now what we're going to move on to is the icing. So what you'll need to do is simply get your white yarn and complete the first 4 rounds that we did for the brown sphere, and then come back and we'll talk through the 5th round, as that's slightly different than the brown part. So complete those first 4 rounds as we did for the brown bit, and then come back and I'll tell you what to do for the 5th round. So we've completed the 4th round for our white icing. So for the 5th round this is going to be slightly different. So to start off, instead of chaining 3, we're going to just be chaining 1, and then into the same stitch that we just slip stitched in the previous round, we're going to do one single crochet. So go through, do a single crochet, and then we're going to do one half double crochet in that same stitch. So yarn over, into the stitch, pull through, and then this time we pull through all the loops at once, so that's a half double crochet. So then into the next stitch we need to do 3 double crochets, so 1, 2, 3, and then another 3 in the next stitch, so 1, 2, 3, and then in the next stitch we do a half double crochet and a single crochet into the same stitch, so half double and a single, and then after that we do 2 slip stitches, so 1 in each of the next 2 stitches, so 1 slip stitch and 2 slip stitch. And so what you can see is this is starting to create a semicircle effect. So what we're going to do is repeat those same 6 stitches 5 more times to go all the way around, and that will leave us with 6 of these semicircles. So what the pattern is, just to remind you, is so a single crochet and a half double crochet into this stitch, 3 double crochets, 3 double crochets, half double crochet and single crochet into this stitch, and then a slip stitch in this one and a slip stitch in this one. So once you've completed that all the way around, I'll meet you and tell you what to do next. Okay, so we've come to the end of our final round for the white icing, and to finish off I just slip stitched into the next stitch, and then I cut quite a long length of yarn for sewing, so it's better to cut too much than too little, because it's quite annoying when you run out of yarn halfway through sewing. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our needle and we're going to put the yarn on the needle like so. There we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pin this on top of the bauble. So put it in whatever sort of position you think looks about right. I think that looks about right for me. So I'm going to take one of my pins, I'm going to pin in the middle, and then I might do just one more pin on the other side of where I'm going to start crocheting. So that should keep that quite nice and in place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start sewing this together. So the way I do this is I usually use a whip stitch, but you can use whatever stitch you think looks best. So just selecting a stitch on the brown that's kind of in a similar position to where the white stitch is, we're just going to pull through like so, and then we're going to go into the next stitch, pick another stitch, so maybe this one, pull through like this, go into the next white stitch, pick another brown one, so this one, pull through, and so on and so forth all the way around until you get back to your starting position. And then what you can do when you get to the end is you can simply, as we did with the brown parts of the pudding, we can simply push the needle through like this, pull it back out and snip close to the surface, and that will hide our white tail. And once you've done that, I'll show you how to create the leaves for our pudding. Okay, so now we're going to crochet the 2 leaves for our pudding, and this time instead of starting with a magic circle we're going to actually chain 11. So watch how I get the chain. So just put it over my finger like this, pull this loop through and then tighten, and then I'm just going to chain 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and now what we're going to do is we're going to crochet around this foundation chain so we get a leaf shape. So what you can do is you can either crochet into this loop here, or you can crochet into this loop at the back here, so it's a little bit harder to see that, but this loop here. I find that crocheting into the back loop gives you a nicer effect, but if you're a beginner it might be easier for you to crochet into these front loops here. So we're going to start crocheting on this side of the foundation chain. So we're going to do 2 single crochets to start with. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then after that we're going to do a half double crochet into the next stitch. So half double crochet. Then we're going to do 2 double crochets, so 1 and then another one into the next stitch, so 2, and then we're going to do 1 half double crochet, 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then 2 slip stitches at the end, so 1, and then it's a bit hard to get this last stitch here. There we go, 2. And then now we're going to turn our work, so we work back into the other side of the foundation chain, and we're going to do the exact same pattern but reversed. So we're going to do 2 slip stitches to start. Oh, and I find it best to crochet into both of these loops here. So we're going to firstly crochet into both of these loops and do our slip stitch 1, and then our next slip stitch. And then we're going to do, just get rid of that tail. In fact, what you can also do is you can crochet with the tail inside our crochet, so crochet like this. So when we're doing our single crochet, we go through here with the tail on top, and that helps us to hide our tail. So we're going to do another single crochet, then we're going to do a half double crochet, then we're going to do 2 double crochets, so 1, 2, and then we're going to do another half double, so go through both loops here, then we're going to do 2 single crochets, so 1, 2, and then we get back to the end of our foundation chain. So what we're going to do next, this is an optional step, you can choose not to do this, but what you can do is you can slip stitch into all of the stitches around just to make it a little bit neater, and then once you've done that, just complete all of the steps once more, making sure to cut a long length of yarn so that you can sew these leaves to the Christmas pudding, and then once you've got the 2 leaves ready, I'll show you how to make the berries on top. Okay, so now that we've finished with the leaves, we're going to make the berries on top, and that will be the final part to this, and then we'll just sew everything together, create the loop so that we can hang this up on our tree, and then I'll show you what it looks like on the tree. So to start our berry, we're going to use a magic circle this time, so like we did before, and this time we're going to do 1 chain to start, so 1 chain here. This does not count as our first single crochet, so we're going to do 4 single crochets, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then as with before we're going to pull this tight, and now we've got our first round with 4 single crochets, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets. Now what we're going to do is we're going to increase this to 6 in the next round, so we're going to do 1 single crochet and trying to hide the tail as we go along as well, so crocheting over that, so 1 single crochet, then we're going to do 2 into the next stitch, so 2, 3, and then we're going to do 1 into the next stitch, so 4, and then we're going to do 2 into the final stitch, so 5, 6. And just to say as well that when we're doing the berries, we don't join at the end of each round, we just continue without joining at the end. So in the final round, which is the next one, we're going to do decreases so that we get back to 4 single crochets in the round. So to do that, we go 1 single crochet, and then we do a decrease stitch, so we do 1 single crochet across the next 2 stitches. And don't worry if you start to lose your tail like that, we can just cut it off at the end, so that's fine. Then we do 1 more single crochet here, and then 1 more decrease, and this can be a bit fiddly towards the end, but just stick with it. There we go, that's our final decrease, and that's it. So then all we would need to do is just snip this tail here, and then cut the yarn, leaving enough to sew all the way around, so you don't need quite so much for the red. So I would just cut to this point, and then what we need to do is just do those steps twice more so that we have 3 berries, but for the final berry that you create, leave a longer length of yarn at the end, because we're going to use this to create the little loop at the top here, so it's going to go through and look kind of like that. So yeah, just make sure that you leave a slightly longer length of yarn for the final berry, and then I'll show you how to sew everything together and complete the Christmas pudding. Okay, so now we're going to sew everything together. So as you can see here, I've pinned down the 2 leaves like this, and all I'm going to do is, as we did with the icing, I'm just going to do a whip stitch all the way around both of these. And then what I'm going to do is just thread the green yarn back up through any of the green stitches and snip close to the surface to hide that. Then I'm just going to do the exact same thing with the berries one by one. So I'm going to place them in a positioning kind of like this. And pin them down. I'm going to pin them down one by one because I think that's easier than trying to pin all of them at once, because you can kind of get in the way of each other if you try and do them all at the same time. And then once we get to the final berry with the long tail, then come back and I'll show you how to create the loop with that long tail. So don't snip the final berry tail, leave that on, and I'll show you how to create the loop. Right, so now we've finished with our final berry. All we need to do is create the loop in the centre here so that we can hang this on our Christmas tree. So if you just go back in through one of the stitches here and then just pull it through this stitch here, and then you'll end up with this yarn here, and then all you need to do is pick a stitch nearby, so maybe this one, and pull the yarn through again all of the way, and then we just need to decide what length we want our this to be, so maybe about this long, I'd say. So then we don't really need this anymore, we just go like this, so we create a loop, pull this through here, and then we pull like this, and now this can hang up on our Christmas tree. And to get rid of this little end here, you can just literally push it through one of these berries, and then, like we usually do, snip close to the surface and then sort of push it back in so that you can't see this part, and then we'll end up with just this loop here to hang on our Christmas tree. So why don't we go and have a look and see what this looks like on the tree. So here's how it looks on the tree. Thank you for watching our video today. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have a go at this craft, then please take a picture, and you can either comment it down below or you can tag us on social media at Surrey Libraries. Now, if you want to create multiple of these Christmas puddings and you don't want to keep watching the video over and over again, we've included the written pattern in the description to this video as well. So yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!